Well, this is a first for me and for this Top of the Pops reaction series, because this is the first episode I've reacted to here on my channel from the 1970s, and it's early 70s as well. As I check my notes, this was originally broadcast 49 years ago today, April the 29th, 1971. Here is the credits for this episode. This is kind of like almost an orchestral kind of cover of Led Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love, which was the Top of the Pops theme for a few years in, I think, the late 60s and early 70s.
Welcome along, everyone, to Top of the Pops, and as you can
Tony
see,
Blackburn's hosting.
Students from the Slough Technical Training College, that's right, isn't it? And lovely t-shirts. Thank you very much for giving us a lovely time when we came down to judge the Beauty Queen contest and everything. Right, we've got some lovely records for you. Brand new #1 sound, starting off with this one from McGuinness Flint, and it's called It Is. Here it is right now.
The artist was McGuinness Flint. Couldn't tell what the girl said. Very quiet and mumbly. But I will look up any information that I need to, and I will put it on screen. So I think I'm quite lucky to be able to do this episode, even though not being a 70s kid, I'm not familiar with a lot of general 70s chart stuff. I like a lot of 70s music, like Sex Pistols, Joy Division, The Clash, a lot of the Beatles solo stuff that was out in the 70s. But I think I was lucky with this episode because when I scrubbed through it, it looks to be in good quality. And it's quite rare for one of these episodes from almost half a century ago to have survived, as the BBC was still quite gung-ho with junking their TV shows, i.e. once they'd been recorded and broadcast, and just throw the tapes out. Anyone who's a Doctor Who, as in classic Doctor Who fan, will certainly know the trials and tribulations of the BBC's junking policy of the 60s, and I would say quite well into the 70s. I think it was maybe the late 70s where they really realised we've got to start saving some of this stuff. Perhaps because in the late 70s VHS had come out, and you know, there was more of a need for home video. Anyway, McGuinness Flint, this is. I've never heard this before. Well, I may have done, sort of somewhere, but it's not ringing any bells, so I'm going to assume I've never heard this before. Don't know what position it's at in the chart. I'm assuming we'll get a chart countdown later on. Like I say, I did a quick scrub through of this episode just to check that the video quality was decent throughout.
Another great record. Gone up 10 places this week to this week's #20. It's called Indiana Wants Me, and here's R. Dean Taylor.
So this is R. Dean Taylor, it's the #20. There again, I didn't catch the bloody title. What do I think of McGuinness Flint? It was alright. I quite like this actually. This is pretty nice. It reminds me of something. I'm trying to think what. So this is slightly strange video. I suppose this is kind of like an early 70s attempt at a promo video. Because promo videos really didn't officially exist until, I would say, the mid-70s. Really, a lot of people say the first specifically made music video for promotional purposes was Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen. And that is debatable because you had the Beatles doing kind of promo videos like a decade earlier, but this kind of reminds me the video rather than the song. Well, the song is a little bit Beatlesque as well, but the video reminds me of kind of the specially for Top of the Pops promos that the Beatles recorded in the mid and late 60s when they got too big to basically turn up to Top of the Pops and perform there. I like the song. It's a really nice song, this. And I'm going to have a lot of research to do to put song titles and any trivia up on this video. because I'm just not familiar. Hopefully there'll be something coming on at some point that I am familiar with, and I'll be able to talk a bit more about it. But really, stuff like this, and the last thing, McGuinness Flint, I know nothing about, and really, I just have to just waffle, really. Actually, this video, it reminds me of, do you remember the episode of Porridge? I think it was the first ever episode of Porridge, actually, the pilot, where Ronnie Barker tries to escape from the prison warder. I can't remember the prison warder's name, I should do, because I love Porridge, it's a great show. For some reason, this video's reminding me of that episode of Porridge. Perhaps that's where they got the idea from. Porridge, I mean, because I think Porridge would have come out after this. Porridge, I think, started in around 74, 75, or whatever. A lot of talk about Porridge, I know. But...
That's the title from the Mixtures.
And this is the Mixtures. Another band, don't know them. Don't know what the song's called. Looks like they're playing in studio, but they've got really... Oh God, Jesus, look at this. They've got a sort of primitive green screen thing going on with a scene, a road scene in the background. Yeah. God, 1971, eh? What was happening in 1971? I can't speak from experience, obviously, but I'm trying to think of things in the news. Decimalisation happened in 71, when all the coins in Britain, and I think it was Ireland and numerous other Commonwealth countries as well, went decimal, obviously. Pretty self-explanatory, but would that have happened before or after this episode? I'm not sure, actually. This episode may have been slightly before that. So yeah, if this reaction is kind of a bit patchy and I'm just sort of blathering and sort of umming and ahhing, it's just because I've not got an awful lot to say about the artists and the songs, because I just don't know them. But it's nice to discover some new music. I'm discovering new music. This is 3 songs now in a row that I've never heard before. 3 artists that I've never heard of. So by that token, if you're discovering new music and you enjoy it too, then everybody's a winner. And I'm not bothered really about this song. No, it's nothing that's particularly pitching my tent here. Man, I don't know if it's the cheesy performance where they just sat in this old, it's a Ford, an old vintage Ford, a bright canary yellow coloured one, and then they've got the green screen footage behind them, which has gone from sort of quite modern footage to old car crashes. Lovely stuff, just what you need. Ah, I know this act.
It's time for a touch of glamour, and here comes Pan's people to dance to the number 28 sound, Mama's Pearl from the fabulous Jackson 5.
Mama's Pearl from the Jackson 5. Obviously I know the Jackson 5. I can't say I know this song by them. And Pan's people are dancing because the Jacksons didn't provide any sort of footage of themselves for this, and this was before, like I was saying earlier, before promo videos became popular. So, as was commonplace in the 70s on Top of the Pops, we had the dance troops, and Pan's people are probably the best remembered. Mama's Pearl, Jackson 5, this is really funky, I'm really enjoying this. Like I said, I know a few Jackson 5 songs, the sort of really big hits like I Want You Back, ABC, Blame It on the Boogie. This is one that I'm not familiar with, but I'm really enjoying this. This is great. Not really a lot to say, as it's not a performance. It is just Pan's people dancing around to this track in the studio. This kind of thing, it kind of seems a bit weird and anachronistic to me, sat here watching it nearly half a century later, but this kind of performance or dance to a track was really common on Top of the Pops around this time, and throughout the 70s, and even into the 80s, really. I'm really digging this song. I think this song is really funky. Love it. So when did the Jacksons first start having hits? Was it late 60s or very early 70s? If it was very early 70s, then this might have been one of their early singles. I was trying to think when I Want You Back originally came out. It might have been 1970. I think this is great. Pants people are doing a good job at dancing to it. Yeah, fantastic. I really enjoyed that. We keep getting the aspect ratio changing here. I think because this video is like an amalgam of different sources for the episode, and some are sort of slightly different aspect ratio, but it shouldn't be too noticeable. Anyway, I definitely know this song because I own it. I own this single and I bloody love it. It is, of course, It Don't Come Easy by former Beatle Ringo Starr. This was Ringo's first solo single. I don't think it got to #1, but it certainly got top 10, possibly top 5. And I just think this is a fantastic early 70s track. See, this is kind of like the Beatles promo videos that they were sending specifically to Top of the Pops and probably a few other shows around the world in the 60s. It's a performance that, you know, while not designed to promote the single as such, it's just been sent to TV networks so that Ringo can have his stuff played on TV without actually having to jet all over the world. But anyway, what a song this is. I have the single. I've owned this twice, actually. First owned this single in the mid-90s. Sold it or lost it or something, and then I bought it again recently, or fairly recently, sometime a few months ago, last year. And I believe I did a mail opening which included this single on my channel last year, so look in the music collecting playlist, and that one is, I can't remember the name, but it's there somewhere, and I think the cover, the sleeve of the single, is in the thumbnail, so look out for Ringo Starr in the thumbnail, and it'll be that one. The Beatles, I prefer them as a band to them all separate, but all separately they've all done really good solo work here and there, but this is, I think, possibly my favourite solo record from a Beatle. And Ringo, I don't think he gets the credit he deserves, really. You know, everyone considers John Lennon as to be the sort of really arty one, Paul McCartney the kind of great songwriter, George Harrison the sort of mystical, almost cool and aloof one, and Ringo was sort of a bit of a joke, but brilliant stuff. I believe George Harrison did play on that as well. Oh, we've got Lulu now.
So here's a fabulous new record from Lulu, chart-bound, and it's called Everybody Clap. Hey!
Everybody Clapped by Lulu. So Lulu made her name in the 60s. The record, the single of Lulu's, which I'm most familiar with, and that's probably the same for everyone else, is Shout. Itchy nose, I do apologise. Hay fever season started. I'm enjoying this. I wish they'd put the chart position on screen like they started doing for Top of the Pops in later years. But certainly at this point in 1971 they didn't bother. But hopefully we'll get a chart rundown at some point in here. I like this. This is good. I think when I saw that this episode was available and it was 1971 and it was full colour, and even though the aspect ratio kind of changes a little bit briefly, it's altogether good audio quality, good video quality. I think because it's like a sort of 60s hangover still, in it, 1970, 1971. Like, this sounds like something that would have been a hit in the 60s. but it's been a hit in the early 70s. I mean, glam rock would have been coming out very soon, I think. But this is more sort of your 60s pop, innit? But in 1971. This is great. I think this is good. I think this episode has started off a bit ropey with some acts that I didn't know and I could live without, but Ringo Starr was fantastic, and Jackson 5 were as well.
Thank you very much. That's a new one there from Lulu, and a very, very nice number it in. You probably saw on the backing tracks as well, there was Bill Lorry, who's Lulu's brother, of course, Suit Money, and there's also Maurice Gibb, who's a hubby. And
Maurice Gibb was one of the backing singers. Well, I'm watching this back in editing. I'll be looking out for him now.
22, and this one we're going to dance to right now. It's straight in at number 26 by Saccharine. It's called Sugar Sugar.
So this was, he said Sugar Sugar. I'm assuming that's the track name. I didn't hear what Tony Blackburn said the artist was. Oh, we're getting a chart rundown though, which is good. So Deep Purple at 30, Cliff Richard at 29. It's not saying what the tracks are, which is a bit annoying. That'll be Mama's Wheel, or whatever that was, I would have thought, at 28 for the Jacksons. Delphonics at 27. Saccharine at 26, don't know him. Jerry Monroe at 25, not a clue. Notice we're having a top 30 here rather than a top 40, which top 40 was probably more a mid or late 70s phenomenon. Perry Como, I know him at 24. Judy Collins, I've heard of her at 23. East of Eden, you ring a bell, her at 22. John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band, 21. Which track will that be? Might be Imagine, possibly. Paul McCartney at number 19. So there's some ex-Beatles in the chart. Marmalade at 18 there. Clodagh Rogers at 17, I've heard of her. Yeah, so this is a cover of The Arch's Sugar Sugar, but it's not The Arch's, it's... I don't know if this is like a cover that's in the chart or just something that they've decided to use to play over this chart rundown. I have no idea. I am kind of swimming blind here, really. I don't know. Weird. The Sweet at 14, they were a glam rock band. Elvis at 13 there, look. Lynn Anderson at 12. Olivia Newton-John at 11, so we're getting down to the big top 10. CCS, no idea. Diana Ross at 9. I quite like this cover of Sugar Sugar, actually. It's weird how the vocals sort of fade out, though, rather than it being a full chorus. I don't know if there's some legal reason for that. No idea. There he is, Ringo Starr, It Don't Come Easy at number 7. I think he does get a bit higher than that. Ray Stevens at 6. I thought he was a footballer. Waldo de los Rios. Bloody hell. Not a clue. The Rolling Stones at number 4. Wonder which track that might be. Dawn at 3. T-Rex at 2. They were a massive band in the 70s. Wonder if we'll see them later on, I'm not sure. And the number 1 is Something I Don't Know by Dave and Ansel Collins. Okay, there we are. So are they playing the number 1 now, or not?
There you go, that's our brand new look at the charts. It's very nice to have a brand new number 1, isn't it?
That was new number 1.
New number 1?
Yes.
You do? Lovely. Okay, what we're going to do now, in actual fact, is have the LP spot from an album called Long Player. Here are Faces, and they're going to do 2 numbers. First of all, Ronnie Lane's going to take the lead vocal on a number called Richmond, and then Rod Stewart and a number called Bad and Ruin. So here they are, Faces.
Oh, so this is interesting. We're getting a couple of album tracks, which I didn't realise Top of the Pops did. And the Faces, which of course Rod Stewart, Ronnie Wood, quite a big band of their day. We'll get a couple of tracks from them, so yeah, got a very bluesy guitar here. I'm not really a blues fan. A slide guitar, that's what it's called, isn't it? Yeah, slide guitar. I don't know why I had to see it for it to remind me, but yeah. Did someone just chuck some bog roll on him? It's not that bad. I mean, it's not to my taste, but was that a stagehand or someone taking it off? What a weird thing to have happened. I'm not really feeling this. I know a lot of people would really enjoy this sort of thing, but the Top of the Pops, it just seems a little bit sort of unusual and not in keeping with the spirit of the show, which is, you know, pop music. I mean, this is by Tony Blackburn's own admission. This is a album track, and I think the next one is an album track. Whether this or the next one got released as singles, no idea. Not really got an awful lot to say about this. It's fine, but it's just not to my taste at all. I wouldn't thank you for an album full of this sort of bluesy kind of stuff. No. Perhaps the next Faces track I'll enjoy more. Although it's going to have Rod Stewart on vocals, and I've never really been a Rod Stewart fan at all, so... But we'll see. Maybe I'll love it. You never know. Quick swap over. I believe that would have been a live performance as well. There's Ronnie Wood, look. Ronnie Wood, of course, went on to be in the Rolling Stones. He joined the Stones in not too long into the 70s, maybe mid-70s, possibly. And there is Rodders himself, Rod Stewart. He went on to have a pretty big solo career a few years later. Never been a fan of his voice particularly, just never done anything for me, never been anything that I've particularly enjoyed listening to. Is he singing live? Probably. The previous performance would have been live, I'm almost certain. This one I'm not quite so certain about. Some lovely effects here from the BBC Special Effects Department. Nice pink filter over the camera. Nice Fu Manchu Tash from the drummer there. You can tell the music is just not to my taste, and I don't know a lot about it either when I'm talking about the musician's facial hair. This is alright. I prefer it to the previous Faces track that they played, that they performed. It's just not what I listen to, really. Quite a nice organ and guitar midsection here. That's pretty swinging stuff. Swinging stuff, oh god. I'm turning into someone's hippie granddad. So I'm wondering if there was a shortage of acts booked this week, hence why the Faces were allowed to perform twice. I don't know, like I say, this is like an album showcase, so maybe this was a weekly occurrence. I'm hoping that I'll do more 1970s episodes. I'm more comfortable, as you can probably tell, with the 80s and 90s ones, because they're my era. I am well out of my comfort zone with this one. But it's nice to, you know, get out your comfort zone and just sort of do something where I can't really sort of, you know, give you a lot of information and talk along too much about it. And like I said earlier, it's a good way of discovering stuff that I've not heard before or haven't heard in many, many years and probably passed me by. Bit of barking there from Rod Stewart. Okay. Rod Stewart, of course, well-known Celtic fan. Supposedly Scottish, but he's not got a Scottish accent, that's for sure. Maybe his parents are Scottish. Like Paul McCartney, his parents were Scottish. But you just think of Macca and you think of him being from Liverpool. But he had a home in Scotland, on Kintyre, the Mull of Kintyre.
There you go, that's our LP spot, and a very good one as well. Right now, Hot Rex has been at #1 for 6 weeks running, and it really is quite nice to have a brand new #1 record, particularly when it's as good as this. So here is Dave and Ansel Collins with their #1 sound, which is called Double Barrel, isn't it?
Okay, so Dave and Ansel Collins, Double Barrel.
I'm back with a shack up a bone soul, more socket, mocking, musical and mocking, sounds of soul.
Oh, I've heard this before.
And I'm still here again.
Oh, it's reggae. Yeah, I like reggae. Got that really nice deep. Yeah, well, I know this. I just didn't know the artist, David Ansel Collins, but I've heard this before. Great #1. So, this might be the last track played, I have no idea. It looks like it's getting near to the end of the episode. And very nice way to end on with this #1. I'm quite a fan of reggae. My dad, although he actually likes dub more than reggae, or even though dub is essentially a derivative of reggae. And this reminds me a lot of dub because there's not usually a lot of vocals in dub. It's sort of, you know, choppy and like the vocals fade in and out. And this is not like that technically, but it's sort of leaning towards that kind of dub influence. But I remember being in the car when my dad was driving years ago, back when I was younger. And when there was a dub track on, when he had his tapes on, he'd turn the bass right up, and then like the speakers, like you were sat on the passenger seat, the speaker, your leg would be resting against it, and you could feel the vibrations of a really heavy bass dub track. Weird sensation, especially in a car as well. But you know. Oh, what fun we had as a family! This is really good. Enjoying this. I think overall, even though there's been a bit of stuff that I've not heard and I'm not familiar with, overall I think this has been a very strong episode actually, for good music, for me anyway.
Thank you then. That's Dave and Ansel Collins. Be back with us at the same time next week for another edition of Top of the Pot. See you then. Bye-bye.
Okay, so that's it then. Doesn't look like there's anything in particular playing us out, or just some instrumental rock track. That I don't know if it's a generic BBC thing or what, but we're going through the credits now, so that is of course as good a time as any for me to say thank you everybody for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers, thank you to all my patrons. I hope you enjoyed this, something a bit different. Probably not my best commentary on Top of the Pops ever, but I certainly had a lot of fun discovering this episode, and I hope you did too. And my next episode, my next reaction will be along very soon, so please will you join me for that. Cheers everyone, and see ya!